Hello and welcome. It's so nice to see you all here. I'm Wendy Blum. I'm the Executive Director of Lowell Telecommunications Corporation in Lowell, Massachusetts. And I'm so pleased to be able to host this panel discussion on discrimination and human rights abuses that are going on right now in Cameroon. We certainly stand by our Cameroonian neighbors here in Massachusetts and around the world, and with those Cameroonians who are actually suffering from this abusive behavior in Cameroon. We live on such a small planet that's so interconnected that human rights abuses that take place anywhere around the world affect us as well. And so I am so pleased to learn more about what's going on in Cameroon, so thank you so much, Fru, for setting up this panel. And thank you all for participating. Now I'd like to introduce Rita Mercier, who's a Lowell City Councilor, to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Wendy. You probably summed it all up, but I'm here in support of your fight to take back your country, so to speak, and to try to diminish the horrific abuse that's being dealt out in your country. I know that people come here to escape terrorists, to escape atrocities, but your heart is still back with those that you love back home. And so anything that we could do, as we did a couple of weeks ago when the City Council got together and formed a resolution in support of all that you do to tell them that we do not condone the atrocities and the horrific abuse that is being undertaken in the English-speaking portion of Cameroon, as well as Bamenda. And we are a sister city in the city of Lowell. We try to help those that are joining with us, and we just want to show our support and to help in any way that we can. I know that the resolution that was formed and signed and given a Fru at the City Council meeting will go to the ambassador and to the government itself, hoping that that might help. I know some time ago when Councillor Rodney Elliott and I, with a few others, went to Cambodia, we saw the atrocities that were going on with about 10 women that were incarcerated there. We saw that. We promised that we'd do all we could. When we got back to the United States, I had a meeting with Nikki Songus. Rodney contacted Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State, and they were released about a month later from prison. So don't think that this is an effort in futility. It certainly is not. Things can be done, and we join forces with you and try to help you in any way that we can. You have been good citizens in our city. We think the world of you. This is a city that is very, very rich, not in financial money, but in ethnic diversity, and we do all we can to help people. So the Lowellians' hearts is with the Cameroonian people. So thank you for letting me be a part of this discussion and to show our support for you. Thank you very much.
My name is Mehmet Ali. I'm a former diplomat with the U.S. State Department, served in Iraq and Afghanistan for 5 years, and very interested in international relations. I currently work at the University of Massachusetts Lowell Library, where I'm the assistant director, and I'll be moderating today's panel. So I want to welcome our esteemed guests, professionals who have a lot to say about this issue and are very knowledgeable. So first, I'd like to introduce to my immediate left, Gerald A. Tabi, who was born in Mamfe, southwest Cameroon. Gerald is the current president of the Cameroon Social Club, position he's held since 2014. He's also the president and CEO of A&E Property Management. He holds a master's in finance from the University of Massachusetts, Boston. He's worked as an investment specialist for the State Street Bank and Trust for 5 years before taking over his current position. And he's married to Magdalene Tabi, and where the family has 2 children, Ariana and Ethan, and they reside in Brockton, Massachusetts. So thank you, Gerald, for joining us.
Thank you, Doug.
Our next guest is Dr. John Fobonjong. He's a professor of political science and public administration at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth. He holds graduate degrees from the California Lutheran University and the University of Arizona. Prior to teaching at University of Massachusetts Dartmouth, he has lectured at University of Arizona, Wilberforce University, University of Maryland Eastern Shores, and Alabama State. Dr. John's areas of expertise are in civil rights, international relations, public administration, and public policy. Between 2000 and 2005, he was the director of the African and African American Studies program at the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth. From 2009 to 2010, he was a Fulbright Scholar, and in 2015, he was the keynote speaker for a U.S. State Department sponsored lecture at the National Assembly of the Republic of Cape Verde. So thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Our final panelist is Mr. Fru Kimbeng, who was born in Mankon, Bamenda in English Cameroon. Fru holds a degree in economics from the University of Massachusetts Lowell, a master's in MIS from Rivier University, and a management certificate from Boston University School of Management. He's been a community leader in many capacities. He's one of the coordinators of the African Festival since 2002, and has been a vital member and key partner of the Lowell Police Race Relations Council. He served as board member of the Cameroonians of Lowell Association. He facilitated the sister city arrangement between Bamenda and Lowell, Mass. He's an elder at the Presbyterian Church and has been very active in the Thanksgiving celebration Feed the Hungry at Elliott Church for over 15 years. He's the first African to receive the Community Teamwork Local Heroes Award, the U.S. House of Representatives Certificate of Special Congressional Recognition, the Lowell Police Outstanding Service and Dedication Award, and the Greater Lowell Health Alliance Civil Excellence Award. Fru currently serves on the boards of Lowell Telecommunications Corporation, the Lowell Community Charter Public School, and the Lowell General Hospital Patient Advisory Council. He's married to Ken Kimbeng, and they have 4 wonderful children. Thank you again for joining us. Folks might be not aware of the situation that's going on in Cameroon, partly because there's been very little media coverage of this issue. And that's why this event is of utmost importance for helping people to understand the situation on hand. Our first presenter, Dr. John, will talk about the kind of previous history of the formation of Cameroon and how that leads to today's situation. So, welcome, Dr. John.
Yeah, thank you, Ali. I would like to start by thanking the city of Lowell and the people of Lowell for standing up with Southern Cameroonians. On May 2nd of this year, the city signed a resolution supporting the people of Cameroonians and their quest for independence. That is a continuation and an illustration of the city's generosity to people who are persecuted from other parts of the world. In the 70s and the 80s, Lowell opened its heart and its doors to people that were persecuted in Cambodia. In standing up May 2nd for Southern Cameroonians, city councillors in Lowell showed consistency. And so we are grateful and thankful to you for standing up with us. We have, you've illustrated that you are that city on the hill, that city where America's freedom was born, the birthplace of American freedom. There is a phrase in American popular culture that says, we should be our brother's keeper. If I can paraphrase that phrase, I would say, thank you for being your sister's keeper, because you were involved, you got involved in this crisis because you have a sister-city relationship with a town in Cameroon. And so thanks so much for being your sister's keeper. As I look in the audience, I can see 2 Reverend Sisters, citizens of Lowell, who spent a lifetime serving in Cameroon. Sisters, I would like to thank you for your lifetime of work in the city of Bamenda, northwest in the southern Cameroon. The sister city that Lowell has in Cameroon, the city is called Bamenda. That relationship was developed in 2002. Bamenda is located in the southern Cameroon, and it is Anglo-Saxon in culture. Southern Cameroons became independent in 1961. I'm going to give you a breakdown, a background, a historical background to Southern Cameroon, how it became independent, what European countries colonized it, and how it got to where it is today. We start with 1858, when a British missionary called Alfred Secker sailed into Douala and then settled in Limbe, actually a town called Victoria at the time, but today name change in the 70s called Limbe. Alfred Secker opened up a Christian mission in Limbe and worked with Cameroonians, Southern Cameroonians, to promote Christianity and taught agriculture, carpentry, and other trades in Southern Cameroon. As we speak, today there's a college in Limbe, in Victoria, named after this missionary. In 1884, Germany sent an explorer to the region. The explorer was called Gustav Nachtigal. Gustav Nachtigal sailed into Cameroon, settled there, and negotiated treaties with chiefs along the coastal regions of southern Cameroon, from Limbe to Douala, and created by those treaties a colony, a German colony. The colony stayed in Cameroon from 1858, and by 1884, following the Berlin Treaty that divided up Africa amongst European powers, Cameroon became formally a German colony. Germany was in Cameroon from 1884 to 1916, when World War I broke out. And during that war, of course, Britain and France succeeded in mobilizing to kick out Germany in Cameroon. In 1919, at the Versailles Conference in France, the League of Nations voted to take away all of Germany's colonies in Africa. Cameroon was split into two between France and Britain, and the western part of Cameroon came under British colonial rule. Britain took western Cameroon and further split it into two parts, into northern Cameroon and southern Cameroon. Both parts were annexed to Nigeria, which was a former British colony. Northern Cameroon was attached to northern Nigeria and southern Cameroon to eastern Nigeria. And the two parts were governed through Nigeria. With time, southern Cameroon was represented in the Nigerian parliament in Enugu, and governed its parliamentarians seated in the Nigerian parliament in Enugu. It would be similar to having, say, Canadian parliamentarians, instead of granting them autonomy, allowing Canadian parliamentarians to sit in Washington, to be seated in Washington. And so Southern Cameroonians parliamentarians began governing Southern Cameroon by sitting and making laws in Enugu, and they realized that they were marginalized openly by the Nigerian parliament. And so they began campaigning and lobbying, and in 1954, they walked out of the Nigerian parliament in Enugu, came back to Southern Cameroon, and formed a parliament in Boya, the capital of Southern Cameroon at the time. And then right around that period, at the end of World War II, the UN passed a mandate that required Britain to administer Cameroon, Southern Cameroon's, to independence, to administer it until give it the economic, administrative, and social skills that will allow Southern Cameroon to achieve its independence. So Britain, therefore, created in Southern Cameroon, in Boya, a parliament which began providing and developing the skills that would allow Southern Cameroonians to gain self-rule. In 1961, Britain gave Southern Cameroons the option of gaining independence either by joining Nigeria or by joining French Cameroon. There was no third option. There was no option that would allow Southern Cameroons to become completely independent. So a plebiscite was organized by the UN, organized and supervised by the UN, that allowed Southern Cameroonians to vote, and the vote, Southern Cameroonians voted 60 to 40% to achieve independence by joining French-speaking Cameroon. And the agreement was for the two states, English-speaking Southern Cameroons and French-speaking Cameroon, to create a federation of two states that would be equal in status. The treaty, no treaty was signed, but there was an agreement that after the plebiscite, after the referendum, the two parties would sit together in a town called Fumban to prepare the Union Treaty and sign an agreement that would guarantee equality between the two states. At the meeting in Fumban, French-speaking Cameroon came with a coach, with the coaching of France. France, behind the scenes, helped coach French-speaking Cameroon on how to conduct itself in Fumban. Britain, following the plebiscite, packed its luggage and left, and Southern Cameroonians came to the convention in Fumban without a coach. With the support of France, therefore, the Francophone in Fumban manipulated the conference and denied Southern Cameroonians the opportunity to sign an agreement, to sign a treaty that would formalize the union between the two states. So the two states, therefore, continued together as a federation from 1961 up until 1972, when the president of the French Cameroon forced through another referendum that allowed everyone in Cameroon, the French-speaking Cameroonians, which were about 80% of the population, along with the English-speaking Cameroonians, who were 20% of the population, to vote, accepting to abolish the federation and create a union. A union in which the French, of course, French-speaking Cameroon was dominant, and gradually English-speaking Cameroonians were assimilated into this larger Francophone part of Cameroon. Their prime minister was fired, their parliament abolished, their House of Chiefs abolished, and slowly, gradually, English-speaking Cameroonians were assimilated into the larger French-speaking Cameroon. But in 1984, the president of Cameroon, the current president of Cameroon, signed a treaty, signed an agreement, actually a decree, abolishing the United Cameroon and reinstating what was today called the Republic of Cameroon, more or less bringing back to Cameroon, to French-speaking Cameroon, the status it had prior to the union of the two countries. So basically, the Cameroon that we have in place today is a country that has completely assimilated its English-speaking partner, denied its citizens the right to freedoms, the right to their language, to their culture. And what actually provoked the current crisis was an effort by the national government to appoint teachers who were trained in French and who speak French, appointed and sent to teach in schools in the English-speaking part of Cameroon. Not just that, judges trained in the French civil law system, judges who do not speak English, who cannot speak English, appointed to serve in courts that were in English part of Cameroon. Now, the French legal system is completely different from the English-speaking English legal system. The English legal system is based on what you call case law, common law. The French system is based on what you call civil law. The two systems are very different. And so you had judges trained in the civil law tradition, appointed to serve in the legal system that was based on common law. And so that more or less denied Cameroonians their right to justice and the right to self-expression. So in October 2016, lawyers went on strike. The following month, teachers went on strike and organized a civil rights march, peaceful, demanding that the government address their concerns, demanding that the government send teachers who were taught and trained in the English language to teach kids in the English part of Cameroon, demanding simply that the government should appoint judges trained in the common law tradition to serve in the common law courts in Southern Cameroon. The government response was to send an armed police, gendarmerie, and the military to crack down on Cameroonians, on these peaceful demonstrators. Very much similar to, actually worse than what you saw in Selma, Alabama during the 1963 march by Martin Luther King. There's actually a clip that we're going to see shortly of college students who were dragged out of their dorms by armed policemen and robbed around in mud. The moderator is going to introduce that clip. And you'll see actually what Southern Cameroonians have gone through and what they continue to go through. As we speak, there are judges, a Supreme Court judge who is currently locked up in prison for simply asking for the application of the rule of law in Cameroon. There are civil society leaders, there are lawyers, students, all locked up. Some have been abducted, and rumors are that they were mass killed and buried in mass graves somewhere in Southern Cameroon. And so we are thankful to the city of Lowell and to its citizens for opening up their hearts and for standing up with us during these very troubling times. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. John. We're going to watch a brief clip about current conditions going on in the streets of South Cameroon right now.
Warning. The following video contains graphic images of torture and summary executions of peaceful protesters in the Southern Cameroons, West Africa. Accordingly, viewer discretion is advised. Every day, Cameroonians received government-sponsored text messages like this. Why is the government of Cameroon threatening people with imprisonment for using social media? Why has the government shut down internet services to the English-speaking parts of the country? What is the government of Cameroon trying to hide from the world? Cameroon, a country on the west coast of Africa, is roughly divided between French-speaking and English-speaking regions. For decades, the government, led by a francophone dictator, has denied basic freedom and human rights to the English-speaking parts of Cameroon, historically known as the Southern Cameroons. Now, the government is sending in troops to crush any resistance to this oppression. What the government of Cameroon is trying to hide is the very beginnings of genocide. In the Southern Cameroons, peaceful demonstrations to demand basic rights and freedoms have met with extrajudicial incarcerations, the rape and maiming of students, torture, water cannons, tear gas, and summary executions. Children, women, young people waving tree branches as a symbol of peace are being chased down and shot. Soldiers have been ordered to arrest anyone taking pictures of the government-sanctioned tortures happening on the street corners, destroy their smartphones, and torture those committing crimes against the state. Who are those criminals? Anyone taking pictures of torture and killing on the streets, and anyone posting these graphic images on social media in order to show them to the world. Violence has become a part of everyday life, and the soldiers, who are supposed to protect citizens, have been seen recording their violent actions to show how effectively they're carrying out their orders, or as trophies to show their French-speaking comrades. Since lawyers are also being arrested and taken to unknown locations, the Southern Cameroons already know that theirs is a society without due process. Unlike before, when torture was only done behind bars, torture and rape is now being institutionalized and used as a tool by the Cameroonian government. If you're outraged by this violence, please help us spread the word. Share this video with everyone you know. Take a picture of yourself with hashtag #FreeSouthernCameroons and post it on social media. Email your representatives in Washington and tell them to start paying attention now.
So some very disturbing scenes there from Cameroon. As I mentioned before, there hasn't been very many media reports about the current conditions there, and much of that is due to the fact that there's been an essential digital blackout of the area that's being controlled by the government, thereby not allowing the people to be able to show what's going on. But now we're going to hear from Gerald, who's going to explain the current conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lee, and thank you, Fruit Kimbeng and Dr. Fumbanjong. It's actually an honor for me to be here. I also want to thank the Cameroonians in Lowell for their active participation in this city. I mean, their participation has actually given us a voice, and we have been heard. I want to thank the city of Lowell for actually opening up their minds to us, giving us a listening ear as to the plight that the Southern Cameroonians go through. I really want to extend sincere gratitude to the Cameroonians who have actually joined the struggle, especially my fellow compatriots at the Southern Cameroon Consortium Boston that has put this together to make sure that we come in as one people to see how we can relieve some of the plight back home. As far as the sufferings and killings go, the regime did not start killing today. These killings and torture has been going on since 1961. I mean, there is just no day that Southern Cameroonians are not tortured or imprisoned or even murdered. These are just the ones that we see. There are a lot that we don't even know because our media in Cameroon is a media that is being censored, so they only tell us what they want us to see. There are a lot of unknown occurrences that we don't know. And just to reflect on two that I remember well, in 1986, the Biya regime had gone to one of the cities in the northwest called Nyos, where they tested I usually classify it as a chemical weapon to kill its people, but under the pretense that they were trying to test the lake, there is a lake in the northwest region, trying to test the lake for safety. There are many lakes in Cameroon. They should have tested this in the French Cameroon area because they have lakes, but they decided to take it to the northwest because it is a strategy, as I'll call it, to try to eliminate Southern Cameroonians. The result of that was that more than 2,700 people died, and I think 2,500 livestock also passed. So the regime has started killing since 1961. In 1985, when the students in the University of Buea were protesting for equal university standards as the ones in French, the Biya regime sent in troops. Two of the students were killed and 4 were wounded. So these sufferings that we see here has been ongoing for a long time. Since the crisis began, we have had the ones that have been reported that we know. As I said, there are many that we don't know. We have had 15 deaths so far. We have had like 100 arrests, and the reports that I read that out of these arrests, we have like 20 females that were being raped, like 13 other young males that were brutally, gruesomely wounded, as you see from those pictures. So the situation right now in Cameroon is one that actually needs a listening ear. The plight of Southern Cameroonians is more than anyone can bear. At this time, we have ghost towns in Cameroon where there are no schools. There's just no activity. I mean, I always ask myself is, why does the Biya regime want us to go to school? The people that have gone to school before and graduated don't even have jobs. So what's the essence of going to school when you won't even have a job? So in the meantime, we have, as Dr. Fomanjong said, leaders have been locked up. We have a lot of killings, a lot of sufferings that is still going on. We have a lot of violence. Biya had turned the military, which is supposed to protect people, into these brutal animals where the one and only law that they know is violence. So violence to them is something that they can understand. The Biya regime doesn't have a listening ear for any compromise. If the Biya regime had just given a listening ear to the teachers' demands, the lawyers' demands, I don't think we will be here. I think there would have been a more moderate way to solve the problem. But unfortunately, instead of listening, they brought in violence, and that is why it has erupted to what it is today. So again, I really want to thank you, Dr. Lee, for having us. I want to thank the people of Lowell for listening to us, and thank you again for your great support.
Thank you very much, Jerome. Our final presenter tonight, and I should mention that after the formal presentations, we're going to ask if anyone would like to come up from the audience to participate further with questions, comments, etc. So we're now going to hear from Fru Kimbeng, and he's got a few thoughts to share about this situation as well. Fru?
Thank you very much, Dr. Lee. Before I begin, I really want to welcome everyone who's here in support of us. And also I'd like to tell the City of Lowell and the City Council that I bring greetings from His Royal Highness King Angwafo the Third of Mancon, who is an honorary member of the Lowell City Council. He sends special greetings to Councillor Rita Mercier, who just welcomed here, and he says that his heart is really here in Lowell. Thank you very much, Lowell, for accepting us and making Lowell our home away from home. We always say that Lowell is the United Nation of city. If you want to travel around the world, come and spend 7 days in Lowell. So it's not by coincidence that Lowell is standing by the people of Southern Cameroon. And I am very, very happy to sit here and call Lowell my home. I would say that Lowell standing up to support the people of Southern Cameroon, it's really a very powerful message to the public. If we remember history, we will know that what happened in Rwanda was really because people did not speak up. Silence killed millions in Rwanda. And before the world could say anything, the whole nation, dead bodies were flowing in rivers. And what the city of Lowell and the people of Lowell, the city council, is doing, they don't want to be quiet. They want to speak up. They want to bring up an attention to the tragedy that is going on in Cameroon. They are standing by the people of Southern Cameroon, and knowing that in times of trouble, you have to stand up by your friends, and we are very, very gracious. I would think that after watching and listening to the panel and seeing these graphic pictures, people in Lowell may be asking, what is it that we can do to help? Yes, there are so many things that you can help. Silence is not an option. We pray and hope that you can pick up the phone and call your senators. You can pick up the phone and write our very able councillor, Congresswoman Nikki Songas. She was supposed to be here today, but because of other commitments, she sends her greetings. Other dignitaries in Lowell were supposed to be here. The mayor was supposed to be here. The chief of police was supposed to be here, but they send their greetings and support to what we are doing here. We really hope that even out of the generosity of your heart, if there's any way possible that you could even reach out and help, because we have people stranded in prisons, lying in hospital without medical support. The government has literally abandoned and destroyed and cut all sorts of help to the people of Southern Cameroon. So at this point, we are pleading that out, if any way, there is any way that you can help, in what shape or form, we are very open to talk. So I thank everybody, and I hope that the independence of Southern Cameroon is just around the corner, and I hope that the world will listen and support us. And we have, for those who would like to support, they could visit our website, www.skakov.org. That's www.skacuf.org. And we also appeal that they could even write the Cameroon Embassy and express their horror and support for the people of Southern Cameroon. And the address of the Cameroon Embassy is Embassy of the Republic of Cameroon, 3400 International Drive, NW, Washington, D.C., 20008. And the phone number is 202-265-8790. Again, that address is 3400 International Drive, North NW, Washington, D.C., 20008. And the phone number is 202-265-8790. We thank you very much for your support, and we thank you for listening. And for those who are watching at home, we hope that we are very, very thankful that you've taken your precious time to listen to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fru. I again wanted to ask if there's anyone in the audience that would like to come up to the microphone to make a comment, to ask a question. You're most welcome to do that. Before anyone comes up, I have a question. How long has the current government of Cameroon been in place?
For so long.
That's a good question. The current government, the current president has been in office has been in government since 1959. He studied in France, went back to Cameroon in 59, was hired as a secretary in the Ministry of Transport, then went on to become secretary at the presidency, chief of cabinet, prime minister, and in 1982, the first president of the country went on retirement and handed power over to him. So as president, he's been in office since 1982. That's about 35 years. But as a public servant, he's been in government for close to 60 years.
And how do you think that has an impact when somebody is in power for such a long period of time?
They become complacent, they become autocratic, they become what de Gaulle once referred to as I am the state, l'état c'est moi. In the French culture, there is no the French do not have a culture of decentralized governance. There's the tendency to monopolize power, to centralize power. Going back to the era of Louis XIV, even though the French organized a revolution that got rid of monarchic rule, they turned around and reinstituted monarchic centralized rule, because monarchic rule is basically centralized rule. So they got rid of the king because the king had centralized too much power in himself, and then turned around, created a republic that centralized governing power. You go to France, French rule is centralized in Paris. All of the provinces are governed from Paris. So they brought this culture with them to their colonies. And you look around the world, in almost every French-speaking country, there is no decentralized system. There's no federation. We got into this union with them thinking that it was going to be a federation of two equal states, not realizing that the idea of federation is not just in their DNA. They don't just believe in a federated system of governance. And so we believe that for us to actually maximize our potential as a sovereign state, we need to break away. We need to create conditions that would allow the Anglo-Saxon system of governance, which is decentralized and empowered from the bottom up. We need to allow that to prevail, and we can only do it through getting you, the international community, to put pressure on France, on the government in Cameroon, to reinstate our sovereignty, to reinstate our right to self-governance.
If I can just chip on that, you know, we in Cameroon, and mostly in the Southern Cameroon, we borrowed from one American leader who said that when injustice becomes law, then resistance becomes a duty. The people of Southern Cameroon are by nature peaceful and non-violent. All through, we are advocating our liberation through peaceful means. And the other side is clamping down on us in a very brutal way. So when one's injustice has become law in Southern Cameroon, then resistance has really been the duty of every Southern Cameroonians until we are liberated.
And this is actually part of the resistance. This forum, which has come together to educate ourselves on what's happening in Cameroon, that's part of the resistance. So we thank you, Loelians, we thank you, Americans, we thank you, Cameroonians and Friends of Cameroon, for joining with us in this act of resistance.
I wanted to ask, is there anyone in the audience that would like to ask a question? Would you come on up to the microphone, please?
So our group, this little group that of Southern Cameroonians, the other day we signed a contract with Foley Hawk International, the law firm, to bring the government of Paul Biya to court so that they can be answerable to the law. And we need your help. We need the help of every single American. If we had spoken up, there wouldn't have been a Rwanda. And now that we are silent, there is going to be a Southern Cameroon. And we should, each and every one of us, say to ourselves that we can make a difference. And what can you do? You can write, as the panelist said, to your congressperson. You can write to your senator. You can go down to the city hall and talk to Councilwoman Rita, because she listens. And you can also listen to yourself and contribute financially, because these people that you see here, most of them will never work for life, those that survive. If you send $50 to somebody in Southern Cameroon, trust me, it's the equivalent of $50,000. I'm not kidding. What that will mean to that person. So imagine somebody who was shot, who is lying not in a hospital, in their home, with no painkiller, no food, no hope, and somebody can be their hope. So I want to appeal to this group and thank Dr. Ali for what he's doing. We need exposure. We need to speak up. We need to say, if something happens here today, or in Southern Cameroon today, it's going to get here tomorrow. And now it has changed. It gets here now. We have developed a phrase, RIP, in Southern Cameroon, rest in peace. Resist, insist, and persist. Thank you.
I wanted to offer an opportunity of any final thoughts that you'd like to share before we close the presentation this evening, gentlemen.
I would like to thank the people of Lowell. We are here and calling Lowell our home because they open their heart unconditionally and make us feel at home. This is the second action of a series. We started by the City Hall and the councillors and the people of Lowell legally and presenting a motion, a resolution that was adopted unanimously at the City Hall to support the people of the Southern Cameroon. No city in this country and even around the world has done what the city of Lowell has done. And from that, this is I like also to thank Lowell Telecommunication, which is a community television center that opens its doors to immigrants and everyone to come and receive technical training on how to acquire some skill and knowledge. Well, what is going on is free television provided by us here by Lowell Telecommunication. I am so thankful and so proud that I serve on the board of this incredible organization. On Saturday, we will have a peaceful march from Lowell High around Merrimack Street to City Hall. And the city too has actually, in support of our peaceful proceeding, are giving us a permit that they stand with us. It's only Lowell that can do this. And I say Lowell is the United Nation of cities. And that, please, come and spend 7 days in Lowell. You will see, you will go home, be proud that you have traveled around the world, because you will eat all food, kind of food on the, in Lowell. You will meet one single person from every continent in the world. And again, I am very, very thankful and proud of the people of Lowell, and especially our city councilor and our councilor, who was then Mayor Rita Mercier, who facilitated with all the city councilors and established a transatlantic relationship between Bamenda and Lowell. So thank you very much.
We have someone that would like to ask a question. Please come up to the microphone so everyone can hear you.
Hi, my name is Harriet Fomuki. I really want to take this opportunity to thank all of you, to thank the panel and thank the people who have taken time to share a moment like this. Southern Cameroon is in pain. Everybody is in so much pain. So we're really so grateful that a great city like Lowell can take time and give the kind of awareness that they're giving us in a struggle like this. And we pray that, we're hoping that this is just the beginning for Southern Cameroonians to test freedom that we have never tested. Thank you so much.
Gerald, would you like to have a final comment?
Sure. Once again, Dr. Lee, thank you very much. And I want to thank the people of Lowell, especially Cameroonians, for their active participation. The people of Southern Cameroons don't know what tomorrow brings. They are really hoping that we in the diaspora could do something, because as of right now, we are the ones that have to create the awareness to make the world understand what they're going through. They don't know how the bread is coming in tomorrow. The teachers have not been going to school. They don't even have any money or any paychecks to feed the family. The business people, business is not growing as usual, so we are really, really pleading for help. Please help us, because we are suffering, as Harry has said. And I'm hoping that with the relationship that we have with Lowell, we'll be able to create some alliances out there that will give us a listening ear. Again, I want to thank you so much for having us. I want to thank the Lowellians, Dr. Fumanjong and Fru Kimbeng for this panel discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gerald. And now a final comment from Dr. John as he gets his microphone ready.
Lowell, to my knowledge, this is probably the city that has the largest concentration of Cameroonians in New England. It shows consistency. You did the same thing to Cambodians who were running away from similar conditions. Without the internet, without modern technology, what happened in Cambodia could have actually happened in Cameroon this past year. But you have been there, and you were there consistently, Lowellians, to support Cameroonians, just as you supported Cambodians. You are continuing and have continued John Locke's legacy, Thomas Jefferson's legacy, that legacy that calls for the granting of freedom to all. Now, humans are born free and endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights, rights that cannot be taken away from us, not by Trump, not by beer, not by a king, not by a queen. So you've lived up to that expectation. We thank you for doing that, and we're going to continue to count on you, because the struggle is not over. We're going to continue to count on you. We're going to continue to expect that you will promote and share with the world what's happening, what you've seen here today, the pictures, what's happening in Cameroon. Thanks for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So once again, we want to thank our panelists for presenting some very up-to-date and interesting information about this situation in Cameroon. And we want to, again, thank our audience, both here in the studio and at home, for joining us This is part of sharing information and being aware of what's going on around the world because it affects all of us as human beings. My name is Mehmet Ali, and I again thank you for joining us this evening. Have a good night.